Howdy folks, and welcome back to another episode of Thomas and Friends Home Media Review. This review is on Thomas Meets the Queen, and it's one VHS release. Yeah, spoiler alert, there's only one VHS release of this. So the history section of this is going to be extremely short. So let's get into the history section. So Thomas Meets the Queen and Other Stories was only released on VHS in 1997 by Anchor Bay. That's it. That's the only release it ever got. Well, perhaps it didn't. We'll get into that a little bit later. Anyways, let's move right into the close-up of my copy of Thomas Meets the Queen and Other Stories. Alrighty, everybody who is watching this home media review, here is your close-up look at Thomas Meets the Queen on VHS. So for starters, it's in that late 90s style of slipcase, includes 6 stories never released on home video, and that is true, and many of them will stay on this release, but we will get to that in a moment. Giant Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends logo, Thomas Meets the Queen, and Other Stories. A nice picture of Thomas, Sir Topham Hatt and the Queen on the front there. Storyteller George Carlin on the side. There's that Thomas with tracks that we all know and love. Scroll down the spine here, Brett Allcroft logo. On the back, you got a nice image of Thomas, James, Percy, Toby, Duck, and Henry's Tender. Live action animation, which doesn't really make any sense to me because this isn't animated, I don't think. It's not CGI, so I don't count it as animation. Your blurb about what's on the tape, and your story stops. Now mine is actually pretty interesting because the only date I could find for this was 1997, was when it was originally released. And it has the 1997 box, but as you can tell, this is ink label, and I don't think ink labels came on the scene until maybe 1998, 1999. So I think this might be a later reprinted version from 1998, 1999, or around then. This is dated 1997, so maybe they just didn't bother to change the date. I know this did come with a sticker at one point, but yeah. Do you guys remember when I mentioned that many of these stories would never leave this release? Well, half of them don't. Mind That Bike, Train Stops Play, Bullseyes, and I believe 4 Little Engines never leave this release. Thomas Meets the Queen can be found on Best of Thomas, and Special Funnel can be found on Thomas's Christmas Wonderland. But 4 of these stories never get released. Ever. They are only found on this release. Which is actually kind of sad because this tape under this title never gets reprinted onto DVD. It's not even on places like iTunes or places like that. You can only find those episodes in this release, which actually makes this kind of valuable. We will talk about that in the next segment when we go in and answer the 5 main questions as always. Alrighty everyone, we're back from the close-up and now it's time to answer the 5 main questions as always. Number 1, where can you pick this product up? eBay pretty much is your best bet. Number 2, is this product still being printed nowadays? The stories I mentioned in the close-up section more than likely are, but for the release itself, no, you will never find a Thomas Meets the Queen and other stories on DVD, unless it is a bootleg. Number 3, should you pick this product up? I'd say, yeah, this is one of my favorite releases, and I would say, yeah, go for it. It's a really good one, and I would highly recommend it. It's got some great story content on there. Number 4, where should you pick this product up? Like I said, eBay is pretty much the only place you can find this, so I would say, yeah, eBay's your best bet. Don't go to Amazon. Amazon charges outrageous prices for VHS tapes, so stick to eBay. And number 5, what price should you pay? Do not go out of the $5 to $10 range for this. So anyway, that's my home media review on Thomas Meets the Queen. It's one release. Finally, a episode where I have all of the releases of one tape, because it was only released once. Huh? Get it? Get it? Are you laughing? You're not laughing? Oh, okay. Anyways, our next home media review will most likely be on the Gallant Old Engine. Yeah, that's pretty much it for me. Thank you all for watching, and as always, good night, everybody.